Hey Boo Buddies, welcome back for another look inside my book Bible series and how I set up making a book and keeping track of the sanity. And this video we are going to be doing a couple things. We're going to be starting with character sheets and just letting you see how I put together a character sheet. So for the most part, when you have characters in a story, you don't really need a character sheet to get started. A character sheet is really just there to keep notes on if you have a big cast of characters or recurring characters that show up here and there but maybe not through predominantly out. I really don't generally do a character sheet for an MC hero character unless they're brand new and I'm still getting to know what to do with them and I want to give myself notes for them. So I'm just breaking up this piece of paper into some sections that I'm going to fill out and just keep track of as my story progresses. And I will do one of these for every character that I am doing a character sheet for. So some stories require more character sheets than others. So the first section that I do is not their name, but the role they play in the story. So are they a main character? Are they a side character? Are they a supporting character? Are they a villain character? Because I generally know the role of a character before I know their name. And then a section under that for name ideas that I can play around with because names sometimes change throughout the drafts and keeping track of who is who can be fun. No, it's not fun. But their role and such things, those generally don't change as much. So the next sections I have are their description sections. One is for their physical attributes, those things about them that they have no control over. And then some detail that are more like things that they do throughout the story, like if they have a catchphrase or a hobby that they're doing that kind of pushes that character back into the story. The bottom and biggest section is going to be their important plot actions. So this is where like anything that they do throughout the story that matters, or if in the case of some things that's like who's holding the magical object in chapter 3 versus who's holding it in chapter 4, and you're trying to keep track of who's got what, who's got that, that would be where that goes. So that's how I do a character sheet. And moving on very quickly to a similar kind of spread, but different and equally important, is my setting spread or my world notes. So I'm just trying to make this fun this time. You don't really need to do this, and drawing a little map border to kind of make it fun because it's my map of the setting. But it's just a place to keep notes on where things physically are in relation to each other throughout the story. So even if I have a story where this setting is really relatively small, like in my picture book, Snow Day, even if my audience doesn't need to see the direct relationship to where things physically are within each other, I still do. It helps me keep track of the action. It helps me figure out what the next action is going to be. And I did the same thing with my new picture book, Beach Day, which is coming on April 25th onto Amazon, where it was actually even more vague of where things are in relationship to each other, because on the beach things are actually constantly moving and slightly different every time we come back to the same place because the water is flowing and all of that. But I still wanted to keep track of where things were. This really helps me know what's coming next and what can't come next, if that makes any sense. So the things I like to include on my setting notes and my world building notes are just generalized. Like if you have a magic system, you would obviously want to have more pages for that, or if you have a technology or anything like that. But for the most part, I like to keep notes on the bare minimum of where I start, what time of day, is it day or night, are we outside, the feeling that we're starting with. Are we starting with a calm feeling? Are we starting with a fear feeling or a tense feeling? And then the reason for why we start there. And then I also want to have an end goal in mind of where I want this story to end up. And of course, that can change throughout drafts, and hopefully it will change, because I always think that the final draft should be different and better version than the original idea. But so I leave a little bit more space for the end than I do to start, because the start is where we start, and I want to answer those questions pretty quickly, because everything is going to I won't really depend on it, because sometimes your start changes, sometimes your ending changes, but this is just a brain dump to kind of get us started, and then just keep little notes as we go. So when you really think about it, the character sheet and the setting world building note sheets kind of function the same, where you're keeping track of the same things for the same reasons. Just one is for people or breathing creatures that talk and move around and interact, and one is your setting, which might move around. It might interact. Sometimes setting is its own character. But yeah, even if it's a simple setting or a character you feel really well, I do like to keep notes on them in my Bible as I go through my drafting and my editing process. All right, so those are the sheets we are doing today. I will see you in the next one, where we will be working on outline pages. I hope you are all finding some inspiration for your own writing journey, or at least enjoying looking into my brain on how I make a book.